Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you yet again today. Earlier I talked about Jeremiah program and the fact that it is both very simple and yet very complex. Well, let me start by sharing the perspective that I bring to this work. So I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. I'm going to let me see, move. They're a little bit backwards. Okay, this one. So I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and my father died in 1976 when he was 46 years old. He had cancer. And he'd had it for several years. So effectively, I was raised by my 42-year-old mom, and I had two sisters who were 5 and 7 years older than me. But when my father died, it felt like, again, he was diagnosed, and it felt like there was this black abyss of my mother working, him working, getting treatment, and them just really not being around because they were so focused on trying to get him healthy. The negative effects of that experience, I think, impacted my life and the life of my siblings. So my father died in '76. In March of 1977, my 16-year-old sister gave birth to her first child. In September of 1978, my oldest sister married a boy who had been very abusive to her, and despite my mother's urging, she went ahead and married him. In 1984, this is my mother and I was graduating from high school. It was in 1980, after my sister was now married, living with her abusive husband. I would care for their children, witness the abuse. I decided that I had two choices. I could either go the path of self-destruction, or I could go the path of self-investment. And my mother, by that point, was really able to lift herself up and see that in helping me develop, she would also develop as a parent. And so I ended up graduating from high school and graduating from college. These are my kids. They've both, well, one's graduated from college, and now the other is in college, finishing his associate's degree. And my oldest daughter is a K-3 educator. So when I learned about Jeremiah program, I had been running a domestic violence agency in St. Paul. And I was inspired by the vision of Jeremiah, and I was obviously personally touched. I immediately reflected on my mother. I wondered what life would have been like for her if she had had the supports, a system to really help her finish college. I wondered what life might have been like for my sisters had my mom had that opportunity. Women at Jeremiah struggle the way my mom did in those early years. For the most part, they have little education. They are overwhelmed by multiple responsibilities and a lack of skills and resources to manage them all. As one woman said to me at Jeremiah, "I didn't know that I was college material, but when Jeremiah said that they would support me to complete college, I jumped at the opportunity." And I think that that speaks to a little bit of what we've heard yet today, which is that we can't underestimate the power and the capacity for every person to learn and grow and develop. And I'm the product of that kind of investment by others. And so the final photo is of a mom from Jeremiah. Jeremiah was what we would consider an original two-generation program. Our first tagline was changing women's lives for their children's future, because we knew that if we wanted to change the trajectory of an outcome for children, we had to focus on the mother. And you might ask, well, why single mothers? Well, the majority of our children in poverty are born to low-income single mothers. They have experienced, as I said, adversity, poor economic resources, domestic violence, and teen pregnancy. About 30% of our families that have ever come through the program have suffered from depression. Another 30% have had prior addiction. But when they come to Jeremiah, we have high expectations of them. And we say to them that we will invest in them as much as they will invest in themselves. And so we lay this opportunity out for them, but they understand that they are the ones that have to do the work. And so with that, we also know that a mother's level of education has a direct correlation to the success of her child in reading and math. And so for that reason, we focus on both education of mom and education of child. And so I think about Jeremiah as a community development initiative. And as such, I think that we as citizens of a global world need to begin creating what I would call, actually I heard it someplace and can't remember who said it, constructive dissatisfaction of the systems that keep people impoverished. I just love that, constructive dissatisfaction. So we need to think about serving the families that we work with holistically. So often we have complicated funding streams, which can be a barrier. Somebody asked me earlier about how we structure our housing. It's complicated. I mean, there are certain restrictions and so forth, and that doesn't make it easy for us to simply provide housing so that moms can go to school. We need to remember, as I think I say, Einstein said it, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I think it's time for us to do something different. We heard earlier that under Nixon's era, we knew what the solutions could be for early childhood. We've had a 50-year war on poverty. It is now time for us to take action. We at Jeremiah, as part of our pre-admission process, teach empowerment. Empowerment helps every individual understand that we are each born lovable, valuable, and important. And when we operate from that framework, we have much better outcomes in life than if we feel discarded, unimportant, not valuable. In empowerment, it's cognitive restructuring, and we talk about emotional regulation, self-regulation. And within that, we talk about delayed gratification. And so I think when we think about the work that we do and the measures, the return on investment that we're investing in each family, we need to embrace the concept of delayed gratification. Because we may not see immediate results in our efforts, but if we plant the proper seeds and keep watering and tending the soil and keep reminding people of the majesty and the wonderfulness that's in each of them, then families will blossom, and so will our communities. Thank you.